My father did everything they told him to, lined up and took every single jab. And every time I beg him, Dad, please just think, he'd just laugh and call me crazy. We spread his ashes at his favorite park. I have to say I thought I was out of tears, until his sister whispered into my ear, my love, my poor love, welcome to our weeping years. Tanya was a nurse working in the bush. She didn't want to take it herself, but because she loved the people out there, she decided to take a chance. Now she's going through a metamorphosis, because Pfizer gave her multiple sclerosis. Now she lives with her mother in the city, like a ghost watching us all forget her. And while she is still too angry for tears, all I could hear in her burning eyes was a broken heart warning me, my love, my poor love, welcome to our weeping years. Welcome to our weeping years. And no one is allowed to talk about it. Take all your pain and keep it to yourself. If vaccines are safe and effective, then you must be the thing that's wrong. You're not worthy of state recognition. You're not worthy of any compensation. Not even worthy of a human singing your song. She was 92 and dying in a nursing home, and because her family said no to the jabs, none of them were allowed to see her, so it was clear she would die alone. But then one of her older granddaughters took matters into her own hands. After dark she would break into the home and sneak down the corridors like a thief. Then while the carers were all watching TV, she would climb in bed and spoon her grandmother. She would get into her grandmother's bed and spoon. And even now I can see them there, huddled together like babes lost in the woods, as we and our endless madness hurricane around them, as our madness hurricanes. Oh, can't you hear our gods whispering? If you guys don't find a way to conquer fear, then you're just gonna keep traveling down deeper into the weeping years. Deeper and deeper and deeper into the weeping years. Into the weeping years. And no one is allowed to talk about it. Take all your pain and keep it to yourself. Look around at all these tumultuous years, for lying has replaced the truth. And the one lie that they need you to sell is that the system cares for you. And the one lie that they need you to sell to your children is that the system cares for you. Hey!
Welcome to the Weeping Years, and tonight I'm in the presence of giants. First giant to bring in House. First doctor in Australia to be suspended. Anyone is suspension back He won his registration back in his pajamas. You never told him that. Next on the thing, first drum roll, absolutely one of probably the greatest journalists in the world, let alone New Zealand. Liz Gunn.
Thank you,
How you doing?
Michael.
Isn't that
Wearing the
fun?
T-shirt you gave me for Christmas, 8:32,
That's right.
Cafe
That's
Locked
right.
Up.
That's right.
Totally
This
recommend
comes from Ron.
ordering it from the Cafe Locked Up site. It is
Yeah,
such
I
a good
actually
T-shirt.
don't think it's for sale there, but this is from Ron. He'll be moved. He'll be watching
Well,
tonight.
Ron, you did so
And
well.
then just goes cracking. We've had a lot of heroes in this time, a lot of unsung heroes, but I think this man will probably go down in history as one of the bravests. He was a quiet, mild man, but he's got the heart of a lion, and he's in court now. So we're going to have an update from him. Anyway, much from that, it's quite astounding, the courage of this man. So let's have a big thing. Barry.
Hi.
I'm just
How
going
you
to get
doing?
you up into the feature place. We're going downstairs. We'll put you guests up. If my thing will work, there we go.
I should go to
better.
court in my pajamas, Paul.
It was just the
Give
funniest part. It
Give
was
me my
just the
job
funniest.
back.
Look, the situation that we're all in is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, it is ridiculous. So you've got to remember that to some element, it's a show, and even what's going on in the courts, I think it's all part of a greater movement. I think we've been sick of the lies, Barry. We're all sick of the lies, but and we need to bring truth, and transparency and truth go hand in hand.
And a little bit of humor as well. Let's not
Yes.
forget we are
And a
human.
good meme, and a good meme.
Yes.
You know?
I actually
And-
saw a quote from John Lennon today, an old quote, and he said, they want us to get violent because they can deal with us when we're violent, but they don't know how to deal with us if we love and humor. They don't know
That's a
what
good
to do with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
sorry,
we
Liz.
laugh at them. Oh, and poignancy, that opening music. Who did that? That was an extraordinary. Michael, that was so good. Honestly, Barry, you should say to Your Honor, if he is honorable in the court,
Honor.
Your Honor, I just need to stop the court for a moment and play you a song. And it's got all the words on screen, and it's written by my friend Michael in Australia. And I think it's very relevant to my case. And then play The Weeping Years.
Yeah, that's
Because
what we
that
played it,
is
yeah.
why Barry
Very
did
good
it.
work.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why. I wish we could send that directly to the judge, but
Yeah.
it's very moving. Please send me that. I want to send that over to Andrew Bridgen. He'll
Yeah,
love that.
done.
Yeah.
But
that
how
was
are you
brilliant.
feeling, Barry?
I'm
How are you
good. I'm
feeling?
good, actually. How are you? It's been a while. The last time you weren't very well that I heard from you. So hopefully everything's okay now.
Yeah. Bill Gates gave me his heart, so I should survive for about 1,000 years.
It's probably the heart of a reptile, isn't it? So yeah,
And
you've got a
I
good
was
chance.
just going
Right.
to say, we
I
know
can get
that's a
twice
lie.
now
Bill
with my
doesn't have a
tongue,
heart.
you know.
So yeah, I'm fine. I'm enjoying life, living the light, you know. So it's good.
Well,
It's
before we
good.
start, how about we use Liz or yourself? Just fill in those who unaware who you are, because I've been telling everyone else going, I want to see this, but there are some even in the movement that go, Barry who? So let's see what I'll be telling them how extraordinary this story is, because you're a part of this too, Easterhouse. So one of you start. Who wants to start? Liz?
Okay, I'll
Bazza?
start. So I was
No, that's Bag's not.
touring before the last election, and we'd started this little party 11 weeks out. And after the Wellington meeting, my cameraman said, Liz, there's this guy and he's got a folder, a big, thick folder, and he's saying, I have to meet with Liz. I have to meet with Liz. And there were lots of people who wanted private meetings, but I couldn't do it time-wise. And Jonathan, my wonderful cameraman, said, no, I think this one's a big one. So the next day we arranged to meet, and he came to our motel, and we went into this little room, all phones left outside, the whole shebang. And he brings out his data, and I won't say what form it was, but I did have to ask. He said, I can't give you any names. It's totally private. But I said, I need to check one family member's name, because then I will know if it is or it isn't real. Because, you think, could it be a government setup? Basically, he said, I have been building a pay-per-dose database for the government. In other words, every time a dose was given across New Zealand, Barry was recording well, actually, most of them, not all of them, were they, Baz? But a large number
More than
of them,
half, actually. More than half.
large enough to be a significant database that showed trends from the jabs. And the trends that were shown, and it was anonymous. I was allowed to check this one family member. I knew that he was telling the truth. And the trends showed excess deaths. It was absolutely horrific, to the point where the best example I can give, and Barry, you'll take it from here, but the best example that hit me full on was, just get this in your mind, 51 people all jabbed in the same pharmacy in the southern city of Invercargill, tiny, really relatively small town at the base of the South Island of New Zealand, kind of semi-country town. And they were all jabbed, some within 1 minute, some twice, 2 people in a minute, some with maybe 3 minutes apart at the most. That was generous. So absolutely no time to do any due diligence, like, oh, have you ever had a negative reaction to a jab? You know, do you have any health issues that we should be aware of? Nothing. They were just throwing these jabs in. Within 6 months, the data showed 51 were dead. And so we sent that, among many other things we did. We, after I said to Barry, oh my God, I can't put it out now because I don't have time to do the due diligence. So what we'll do is I will put a message to New Zealand saying, I have something, New Zealand, but I have to do my due diligence on it. So you're going to have to wait. But I just warn you, please, if you're thinking of having this, don't have it, because if this stands up to scrutiny, it shows that these jabs are very dangerous. So that was the message I put out to promote it. And then we spent about 8 weeks between the end of the election in 2023 and December when we put it out to the world. And during that time, we actually connected with a lot of people around the world, because I knew that Jacinda's successor, a very weak little man, Chris Hipkins, sniveling little politician, absolutely untrustworthy. And I knew that he would just, you know, set his thug police on us and try to shut it down if we only put it out in New Zealand. So we connected with some great people, including Steve Kirsch, and Barry at one stage spoke to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And he was at that stage in Children's Health Defense, and he said, well, it sounds significant. To have one person building a database for a whole country was unusual. Say in America, there'd be many different silos of this sort of data. But in New Zealand, we had one database builder for the whole of the country. So it really gave us an insight into how these jabs have affected a population. And so he put his leading epidemiologists. We contacted Andrew Bridgen, the UK parliamentarian, who is now no longer in Parliament. They corruptly kicked him out. And he put us on to a brilliant man, Norman Fenton, who was also an epidemiologist. So we had some really brilliant minds looking at it around the world, and they all said, yep, this stands up. We put it out. And Barry, it was amazing, wasn't it? Because you notified every politician, notified your bosses. But before we put it out, I notified the new Deputy Prime Minister, Winston Peters. I went to his house where I had interviewed him. I rang him on his personal phone number. And he wouldn't pick up. He wouldn't answer the door. But I said, Winston, you can have all the credit for doing all the work on this. Barry and I don't care. That's not why we're doing it. We want this put out to the world. And you are in the new government. You could just make your name as a world hero. You will be remembered forever if you stop this COVID jab in New Zealand. And I promise you, within days, you'll be on Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan and everywhere in the world. But the rest of the world will follow like dominoes. They'll fall if you will put out the truth, no matter the comeback from Big Pharma. And we got precisely nothing from Winston Peters, who had played on the freedom movement and the freedom people to get into Parliament. So within 3 days, I knew that he had defrauded the people who'd voted for him. And Barry, you add any more details to that. I think from there you could pick it up with what happened subsequently to our putting it out. It was pretty horrific.
Yeah. Just give me a moment. I just want to grab something quickly.
Oh, well, while he does that, I need to weave in Paul Oosterhuis, the gorgeous Paul Oosterhuis.
Yeah, Paul, I was there the night.
Yeah, a group of us
Sorry about that.
A group of us met in the middle of the North Island, and I invited Paul over, having met him through you, and I trusted Paul, and I knew he's a really ethical doctor. What does that say, Baz?
Was this the bag that you saw on that day?
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
It wasn't a folder. It was my
Yeah, it
was
was.
my
He was
Oracle
holding
laptop
it
back
like
then.
this,
Yeah,
like it
But
was a baby.
yeah. I was
Anyway,
a bit
Paul came to the
nervous too.
house and we flew him over from Sydney, and we had another doctor there, and we had a statistician, and we had a group of us, and we just went through the data, and it was so amazing seeing particularly Paul's reaction. He was so excited, and I think let you know, Michael, that this was really significant and that it could have changed the course of history and stopped people being injured and prematurely killed. But of course, they shut it down. So Baz, you take it from after we put it out. You talk about what happened with the cops.
Yeah, well, I certainly wasn't expecting the Spanish Inquisition. I think
Yeah.
to coin a phrase from Monty Python. Yeah, it was weird. I didn't exactly know what the reaction was going to be. I knew there was going to be retaliation within minutes of me sending that email. And at the time, I didn't know what the Protected Disclosures Act was. It was only written in 2022 anyway, so that was like in the middle of all this. So I had really no idea about it. So I was just acting on good faith to the best of my abilities, as a good employee, doing what I thought was the right thing to do, and that was to validate what I thought I was seeing in the data, to get some experts involved, statisticians, and you yourself, Dr. Paul, to have a look at it and say if I was actually seeing something that was a concern. And so yeah, after all that, sent the email, and they retaliated quite extremely, and in a way I never expected that kind of reaction. And substantially, I did, looking back in hindsight, now that I'm aware of the act, I know that now I complied with nearly all of it. I ticked nearly every box in that act, in that Protected Disclosures Act. And there's really only three things you've got to worry about with the act. The first thing is, are you an employee or ex-employee? And I was. And second part of it is, do you see significant risk to public health? That's one of the conditions. And the third thing is, you don't make it in bad faith. There's no malice involved. And so I ticked all those boxes. And the thing is about the Protected Disclosures Act, I don't have to comply with every single section of the act for it to qualify. And also, more importantly, I don't even have to be right. And that's the key thing. I don't have to be right, although I went out of my way to ensure that it was, getting people's opinions and stuff like that, which I am allowed to do under the act anyway as well. So I was very careful about that. And having said that, I don't have to be right. And even so, even though I am right, they still haven't looked at the data, and they went after me. And so it's like the whole thing about the Protected Disclosures Act. It's meant to protect an employee with valid concerns. And it seems like instead of a carrot to protect me, to lure me in, to make that disclosure, they've turned it into a giant stick to beat the shit out of me with. And that's how it feels. I mean, it's 2 years. It's been probably the longest, slowest trial in New Zealand history, and probably the most expensive. Oh, it's heading that way for sure. I mean, it's 2 million plus now, and that was last time I had any real data on that was over $2 million that was spent. So yeah, it's costing an arm and a leg, and it's just going to keep on going. Unless they pull the plug on it with the voir dire hearing, and that's going to be settled on the papers. And if it's not, if the Crown decides they're going to be stubborn and appeal it, then it's going to go on for years and years. And yeah, we're looking at 2 years now. We're probably going to be looking at another 2 years in the future before we get any court date. And it's just, yeah, we're going to be old by then.
Well, that's kind of. Do you think they're burying it? They just want it to stay down.
They want it to go away. Yes, I do. I absolutely.
They don't want to get it into court because, despite all their lawyers and barristers, like what happened with William Bay, he had the truth.
Yes. Yeah.
So
and it's not going to go away. That's the thing.
Two barristers and 10 lawyers. Against two main barristers and 10 lawyers, he had himself, but he had the truth and he won.
Yep. Well, he's outgunned me because I've got 2 Crown prosecutors, and 2 of them, and probably Health NZ entire legal team. So I don't know if that
Oh,
qualifies or
no,
not,
no, man.
because
No,
they're
I'm
going after
sorry.
me as well.
I think you're in another league altogether. But why do they have two? Have they said why they need two? I mean, have they
Because they
come
need
forward
to,
with
because
a
I'm not
reason?
good.
Because
Is
there
that
are
Well,
things to say.
why did they need so many resources to go after William? I mean, God, that's
Yeah,
insane, and
to
it is
intimidate.
costing a lot of money. It's like 600 an
Huge
hour or
amounts? Yeah,
something. That's a standard rate for a lawyer.
yeah.
Crown prosecutors are probably on a little bit less, but still exorbitant.
The
I've even
barristers
had
are
like
like $900
right
now.
right at the start, the head of the Crown Law in Wellington, a guy called Grant Burston, was involved right from the start, the very top guy, right at the start of it. And so, yeah, it's been pushed to the very highest levels at the very,
Wow.
very start.
I guess
And
they
yeah,
know.
I'd say
it's
to
crazy.
Grant Burston, you live with that. You live with knowing now, right to the end of your
Yeah.
days, that you could have saved a whole lot of Kiwi lives by allowing the truth that would have stopped the rollout of these jabs. And you made sure for some squalid pay packet that this truth teller has not been allowed to get out there. That's a horrendous thing on your shoulders, Grant. That's just, I
Yes.
wouldn't want the burden of being you on your deathbed and having to answer to that. But beyond that, there are the thugs who turned up. I mean, Barry talked about a stick, but it literally was a stick. This peaceful man who's never had one altercation with the law ever in his life and was simply telling the truth, had 8 armed cops turn up 2 days after we put the data out, and you should see pictures of the smashed up door, and it's all designed to intimidate, demoralize. Every bit of his equipment was taken. Everything's been tampered with because it's so hard to get communications with him normally. Actually, it's pretty good tonight, Barry. It's good.
Thank you.
But
This is
I think he's
the one that
using a new
returned to me,
computer.
this laptop. Yeah, yes. So
But
I
it
wiped
was
It's a new
so
operating system on it.
bullying, and he had 2 nights in prison. 2 nights in prison, and his back went out really badly. He never complained. He's always been good humored. But these are the things they do to the ones who are telling the truth. If you see this kind of behavior, you know that, oh, that must be a truth teller. That must be someone I can trust, because they're being
was
as
a bit of-
brutal as they can be.
It was like a bit of a reaction to an employment dispute at the end of the day. And in New Zealand, I don't know if you're aware of it, we've just had a hack from Manage My Health, or whatever the app's called. It's a thing that New Zealanders use to record their health details and stuff like that, say an online mobile phone thing. And that's been hacked, and they've stolen really, really critical details of a lot of New Zealanders, over 100,000. And do you think the police are going to be interested in that?
Yeah, no.
Unlikely.
There's no
Nah,
little
they're not.
Pakistani going to have his door broken down. There's,
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
want to
yeah,
show
yeah,
here from
exactly.
David Yates in England. Chat comments not showing here in the UK. So I've just seen that thing. Thanks for telling us, David.
I think from their point of view, it's a good investment. They could spend 10 times as much, honestly, because their liability. If this shows their liability, it's in the billions, trillions. You know, you can't measure the whole of their financial liability.
Oh,
so don't
it's
talk to me about
unlimited.
2 million. We'll pay 20 billion to keep this information silent.
Yeah.
And that's my point. That it was quite freaky how I ended up being invited, you know. And at the time, I didn't know you as Barry. You were Winston Smith, you know. And there was all this, like, it was the closest, Michael, I ever came to feeling like a spy. I don't know if it's
Yeah, I was shit scared for you, brother. I was over here going, I can't tell anyone.
How do you think I felt?
And the place was lovely, and New Zealand was lovely. And you guys were lovely, but the data, you know, the point is, it's like it wasn't the whole. It was like 2 million people, but drilled down to such detail, like we're saying, that you could work out, you know, who got it on a Tuesday morning by who, where, you know. This we're not even been remotely close to that. We're given models. Even the guy you should tell us about the guy in court who tried to analyze your data set. And have you had
We'll do that, but just before that,
nobody's
the
analysed
lawyer,
it. Nobody.
nobody.
In court in the voir dire, which is the posh word for
Yeah, well, maybe
pre-trial.
they don't. Maybe they don't want that.
No, they
Maybe they don't
can't.
want
They
that.
cannot ever look at it, and that's a big surprise. And it was 2.2 million, and I got an OIA in September, which said that only in September last year, it only just ticked over 4 million vaccinated in New Zealand. So that means the paper dose data set of 2.2 was well over half at that time, 2023, well over half of New Zealanders, which is a pretty substantial data set. And the people think, oh, it was all people's homes. They all had comorbidities, they were all dying of cancer and all the rest of it. And all, it's like, well, no, 2.2 million people aren't all terminally ill, elderly people, in care homes and stuff like that. It doesn't work like that. The average age of the data set was in the mid-40s, which is relatively young. It was skewed towards a younger age group because most of the paper dose sites were pop-ins, walk-ins, like shopping malls, shopping centers, and pharmacies and places like that. So, yeah, there's been a lot of wrong assumptions made about the data, and to this day yet, the government has not looked at it. In the voir dire, which is where I was getting to, the judge became interested in it. He's like, well, I want to see. Show me what you saw. And so the Crown reluctantly brought up some of it, and because it's so big, they load it in a spreadsheet, which is like, I don't know if you know statistics and stuff, but it's like you cannot really load 2 million rows in a spreadsheet, and they've got special tools to do that. It's like R Studio and Python and stuff. So anyway, they were just using Excel, and because of that, they could only view 1 million rows, and that was the excuse the epidemiologist came to say why he didn't look at the data, because he opened up the spreadsheet, saw 1 million rows, and decided to close it down. So he never, ever did any analysis on it. And the Crown, when they opened it up in court to get the million rows that they could, and they were scrolling through it and stuff like that, they then offered to do that for the judge. They said, if it's in the judge's interest, we will get this data to you. We will make it available. The Crown will do this. But then a couple of days later, nope, they're not going to do that. So they've reneged. So they still haven't looked at it. This is Edmund, by the way.
Hey, Edmund. That's it. That's extraordinary. There's
it is absolutely.
We've branded these last 5 years, Barry. Recently, I was talking to another podcast and said we should rebrand this as the nonsense war, because we've just been hit with lie after lie after lie.
Yeah.
And we're sort of the common sense brigade. You're like a common sense veteran now. And all we're saying is, and Liz, you're the same, because it's literally lies have taken over the world. And the one problem is not that they won't let the judge see it, is that how come the whole world isn't talking about this? How come New Zealanders aren't up in arms going crazy, going, what, you've killed us? You killed all these people? But there's just, it's like the people themselves want you gone away. Take him away. We want to get back to foot drop flat.
It's an inconvenient truth, isn't it?
Yeah, this is really, really strange, and it's I actually believe we're in 1984 already. The only difference is George Orwell saw it as all grey and bleak, but it's actually yellow, like McDonald's. You've got to look at it through marketing. That's what he missed. But what it is the truth in 1984 is dangerous. Nobody wants it. And this is where we are now. So I think you've got the perfect name when you called yourself Winston.
I did. I actually did. I was the protagonist. And, ignorance is strength. Isn't that one of the catchphrases from
ignorance
1984?
Is bliss.
War is peace. Ignorance is strength. And what's the other one?
I think ignorance.
Freedom is slavery.
Freedom is slavery. Yes.
Freedom is slavery,
Yeah.
So, can I say, Barry, when I was there, it took me a day and a half to understand what you were doing, because you kept saying paper dough.
I know.
What the hell is a paper dough?
What is pay per dose?
Pay per dose.
Yes.
Pay per dose. So it collected
I
payment
should just say
for
a
the
vaccine payment system.
payment for the dose. And I thought it was quite helpful what you said. But yes, it's a big data set, 2 million people, but there's more than 2 million people in New Zealand, so it doesn't cover everyone, and you could have different elements of how that payment database, who it served. The populations could be different. And you said it skewed slightly younger, and I think that so you can say, even though it's a huge data set, it could skew to different age groups, and you could be. What we're trying to point out is it was a ginormous data set.
It's a huge data set.
That would overrun and fry any laptop, but it had extreme amounts of very real world data,
there's enough in there for every single age band from 10 to 15 to 100 plus. There's enough people in each of those age bands to create a perfectly valid study. And the thing is, with only 4 million people vaccinated, we were told during the time in mid-COVID they reached the 90% vaccination rate. That's an absolute lie. It's between 70 and 80% at most, and they discounted all the under 12s because under 12s weren't vaccinated. So it's a very skewed way they had of reporting it, saying that it was 90% vaccinated. It was never ever anywhere near that. Because there's 5.2 million people in New Zealand, and only 4 million are vaccinated. So that is over 20%, right? That's over 20% who are unvaccinated.
Can I ask you a question, Baz?
Just before you do, Michael, I just I wrote this down earlier because it worried me. I don't want them using what Paul said in the earlier part of the interview. So if the lawyers are watching this interview, you must qualify this, because Paul knew. I know exactly what Paul meant. He said we could really dig down into each line. We could see time of jab, and we could see day of jab, and we could see, there were details along the line, but the names were always obscured. And this is the rub. He was put on trial because he was revealing the people's data, and the lying media, the legacy media I used to work in, God, they're shameful. They were part of that. They put out reports that 12,000 New Zealanders' health records were compromised. And I had emails from people saying, I hope my name isn't in there. And I just had to write back and go, no, it's all fully anonymized, and the legacy media is lying. Now, they had to
backtrack about that, but they never have.
They've never retracted that lie. They've never done a big headline. We were wrong on Barry Young. He didn't reveal any private details of any New Zealander. And Paul was not meaning that we could dig into the names. So that's
I was saying that what I was referring to was just how much data was in the database. It's an unprecedented resource. And adding names and personal identifiers doesn't add to what it wasn't about finding out Nana's PIN code.
Well, can I just make it clear? Can I just make it perfectly clear? There were no identifiable details in there. If the worst possible scenario was a list of names. There are no addresses, no email addresses, no telephone numbers. Nothing like that. No physical addresses. Nothing. It's not. It wasn't that kind of system. It wasn't built to record people's personal details. It was just their names. So if you think about pay per dose, if you think about 12,000 names, if you write on a sheet of paper 12,000 names, I guarantee you're probably going to get a few of the names matching the names on the database. There's probably not that 12,000 combinations of names. Exactly. How many Johns, how many Smiths were in there? Yes. Yep. You would have been in there. I would have been in there.
I would have, I don't know.
The big thing is that the court case should collapse at this point, because we're 2 years in, not one name, and they've probably spent much more than $2 million. And this is the Crown, and they haven't been able to find where Barry did breach privacy. So wait a minute, the court case is about the breach of privacy. So there's been no breach of privacy. So why aren't we just scrapping the court case and saying, let's put out the anonymized data? And the only reason for that, the only conclusion any intelligent New Zealander can draw is, oh my God, the government has acted in a criminal way, has hurt and maimed and prematurely killed New Zealanders, and they do not want this brave man to put out the evidence. So my government is working against me and my family and the health of my children and the health of my country, and they are criminals who are hiding their tracks by using the justice system in an unjust way. And that's the only conclusion you can make now.
Yeah. Plus the hierarchy, a lot of them didn't get jabbed, so they're not in it. And they don't want that out as well.
exemptions. Yes.
11,000 exemptions. The reason I was going to ask Barry is I think over time, every time you do an interview, there'll be other people sitting on data who'll be thinking, you know, what's happening to him? Now, you are being persecuted through the courts, and this will go on for a long time. But before you went public, there must have been a huge amount of anxiety and stuff in you. I mean, enormous. Now that you're 2 years in, do you still have that anxiety, or how do you feel now? Do you feel like I wish I'd never done it, or do you feel like how do you feel?
To anyone out there who's possibly in this situation where they can help, I wouldn't have changed a thing. I would have done exactly the same thing again, 1,000 times over. Absolutely no regrets. No. So I'm living a great life. I really am. I meet beautiful people. And it's a wonderful life. So all you can do is live in the light and enjoy it. And if you're in that position where you are feeling conflicted and you can help, then don't worry about it, because if they've done their absolute worst to me, their absolute worst, and I've been through it, and it's a wild ride. It really is. And it's been at the coalface of all the sickening corruption that you can possibly imagine in the government, and seeing it all unfold, all the lies, the deceit. It's like I'm reading through all these disclosures this thick. I mean, it's unbelievable how big. They literally have a case for me. And it's a suitcase. It's one of those huge Samsonite things they wheel into the court. That's my case. And all this stuff, you go through it, and it's just riddled with lies and corruption. And literally, they are breaking their own laws. And so it's a real eye opener. And to my point, if they are doing their absolute worst to me, and they really are, they're going at it real hard, then they cannot do it to everyone. You know, take comfort in that. They cannot do it to, if there's 5 whistleblowers, they will not have the resources or the gunpowder to do it to all of those. So yeah, I mean, feel self-assured that you'll be doing the right thing if you can help in any way. And Australia as well, anywhere. Don't worry. Do not worry.
If we had hundreds of
truth will set you free.
If we had hundreds of whistleblowers come out all around the world, the system would get totally deluged and they couldn't hold it. And even the cat put his paw over the screen to go, yeah, go Barry. I just saw that. But the point of that is, Barry, you way played down what you're doing. Yes, he has dug in. He has refused to pay thousands of dollars, possibly $1 million to lawyers for the hours that would have been needed. So he's done it himself. Anytime I call him, Michael, he's working away on his case. He really would be a great lawyer himself. And I will just say on the Whistleblower Act, we always talked to Barry as a whistleblower, and then I knew that he was going to give it to his boss and to all the parliamentarians. So I made a real mistake there, although as a journalist, I don't try to give legal advice ever, because that would be a crossover. But I just thought, oh, yeah, Barry's right across all the whistleblower legislation. As it turned out, he wasn't, but I knew that he was doing everything that was required, giving notice before he put it out. And then he absolutely will not take money, so that they cannot say, oh, you had an ulterior motive to putting this out. So I've been at court where people have said, please give Barry this money. And I go, no, he will not take it. He just won't take it. He's doing it all himself. And that way they cannot cast aspersions on his motive, because his motive is one thing and one thing only. We've got to get the truth out to stop lives. And that awful lawyer, Grant, can you imagine, Grant, if you'd allowed Barry to get this out to the world, how many New Zealanders would still potentially be alive who have died prematurely because they went and took boosters. And every lawyer, I mean, I spoke to the lawyers outside the court at the last hearing, Michael, and they were so, they should have been in an Oscar Wilde play, looking down their noses at us, terribly sort of couple of plums in their cheeks. And I felt sorry for them because, I mean, even somebody in court noticed that one of them had his hands behind the back and he was fiddling all the time like this, nervous, because when you lie, when you stand on the wrong side of history, you know inside you, and it's got to prey on your conscience if you have a skerrick of conscience. So, you know, that's not a good job they're doing, and it must be, you know, for the judge to, I went and talked to the registrar. Well, I went and talked to the registrar because they shut the public out and there was a big crowd. And I said before the court, I just went up and said, I spoke to the British MP, Andrew Bridgen, and he's been in Westminster for 14 years. And I said, what do you think of them shutting the public out? We were told last night. And he said, well, Liz, for justice to be done, there's an adage that says, for justice to be done, it must be seen to be done. So I said to the registrar, we're not in the era of the king's private star chamber courts where he could grab any subject off the street and just, you know, persecute him and get away with it. If you do not allow the public in long term, in this case for Barry Young, you will lose the confidence of the public and we won't believe in our judges anymore. So he actually nodded in agreement. Yes, he said, I know. And he said he would go and talk to the judge. But you see, the judge has to have the integrity and the courage to withstand the political pressure and realize the politicians come and go like dirty floor mops. You know, that's all they are. They're just a few dirty floor mops, and there'll be another lot along after the next election. But a judge should be there on that bench holding the highest standards and holding the politicians to the highest standards. And so you can never cave into political pressure if you are an ethical judge.
Liz, lives. One of the things that Barry said, one of the conditions, he believed that lives were at risk, that there was a safety issue, a grave threat to the public.
Yes.
You know, even the suspicion that there was a grave threat to the public.
Yes.
And he's sitting on this database of very bespoke, but it's of the class of record level data, you know, which is, you know, why people like Steve Kirsch, you know, and now they've been finding record level data from Czechoslovakia, from Japan. And it's consistent, okay? If it was it's not a fabricated data set.
No.
But a lot of the stuff that we get from the other side is AI generated, fabricated bullshit.
Yes.
And the problem with record level data, why it's so important, and why what Barry did was so important, is because that was the point I was trying to make. This record level data shows, you can see, like we've learned so much over the last few years. Everyone was looking for the first 2 weeks, and yes, people did die in the first 2 weeks, but we were blissfully unaware of the wave that came months later. But we see it over and over, and that's where the bodies are buried in that excess mortality. And
that's a perfect point. That is a perfect point of this this thing. And I can't say conclusively that people died because of the vaccine. I'm not a medical person. I'm not a doctor. I cannot say that, but I can say these are reasonable grounds for concern, and that's all I need to say for the whistleblower thing. That's all I have to have, reasonable grounds. And it's not the standard of an epidemiologist professor, because I'm not. I'm just an Oracle database administrator. And the reasonable grounds would be that you yourself, Liz, would come and see this data set and say, wow, there's something wrong there. That's all that means. A reasonable person would have the same opinion, not a flippant professor.
It's like when we were sitting
the more you look at it, the more you see that you're exactly right. It's not within the first 2 weeks. It's not within the first few months even. The big hump comes within the first 200 days. And that's the point of all these studies that they do with, you know, drug trials and stuff like that. There's a thing called immortal time bias. I don't know if you're aware of that. It's where they will have a cutoff period where they no longer monitor you. So they'll say, oh well, 50 days is a cutoff time for the study. So you're on the study. There's a start point and a follow-up period and then a censor date, censored. So there is a finite period of time, and most studies limit that to 50 days or less. And that if you have some suspected event happening after 100 days or 200 days, you're going to miss that. And the good thing about this data set is the average length of time for each person on the study, if you want to call it that, because it could be, you could qualify this as a study, is over a year. So every person, the average length of time on that is a year. So you get a real good depth of the data. So you'll be able to follow them for a much longer period of time, and you do see these patterns emerge. So after 200 days, before a year, it's like your background mortality should be a flat line. But when you look at the date post-vaccination, there's a huge spike, and the biggest spike is after between 100 and 200 days. Then it starts to level out to what it should be. That's temporal causation, temporal proximity, and it's a perfectly validly epidemiological study to go with that. And you can do all sorts of calculations based on that. And if you do the probability of that,
proximity, Barry, just means
yeah,
it within a time frame that would relate back
of the vaccine. Yes,
would relate back to the vaccination. So there's a
Yeah,
time
Liz,
link. Yeah,
Liz, when they say it doesn't equal causality, well, when you've got this sort of data and you can measure the time someone's had the intervention and then when they die, this is the power of these sort of data sets.
Yeah.
That they show causality. They show causality, and they show you. And we're seeing excess mortality. We have for years now. I think this is the 4th anniversary coming up of the Lighthouse Declaration, and I was talking about excess mortality quite a while ago. And we're seeing it all around the world. It hasn't stopped, and it's not climate change.
No.
So I mean, at some point, I guess this is process as punishment. I experienced that too. They drag you through the courts and the threat of ruining you with the $600 an hour lawyers that they're using. But that's the punishment. The process is the punishment, and before they build the statue of you, to you, we have to go through our penance, don't we?
Yes.
But
it's not working. I mean, the process is like, well, bring it on, because you are exposing me to your corruption, and these things will not be forgotten.
No, they're exposing themselves.
All your stats, we think of stats and numbers, but look at this down here. Sherry goes, I have 3 Aussie family members who have POTS. They and their young lives are ruined. Every one of those stats, every one of those people with a 51, they're humans, fathers, mothers, grandfathers, kids who have left huge holes behind. And they have a right to go, what happened? Because they just went into a chemist, a place of trusting, thinking they were doing the right thing for the community. And this thing was safe and effective. And now they're gone. And that's only that small group. Who knows how many from the year? That's the reality behind this. There's people behind this. Stories. So, young people with dreams, and they're going to get married and all this manner of things. Same all around the world now. You actually get fatigued when you're in this game. Liz probably gets it too. The people come up and they want to tell you, and it's just horror story after horror story. How many? Someone told me the other day they can't stand going to funerals anymore. I think it was Barry from he does a radio station. You should get on that radio station in Perth, and he was saying that people stop talking about COVID. And he says, but I want to talk about it because I can't stand going to any more funerals. I've been to so many, and so. But the other thing I was going to suggest, Baz, if they're taking their time, I think and I would put that to every podcaster in the world. We have the power through Liz first to make Barry almost a household name.
Yes.
So when they take him to
yes.
court, by the time they get him to court, the whole world is watching, not just New
Exactly.
Zealand. See what this is their plan. This is their plan. Let's have his court case Christmas, Boxing Day
yeah.
morning,
Yes.
whilst America and Russia and China are all declaring war on each other.
Yes.
And then we'll go sneaking in there under there. You know what I mean? That's what they want to do, and get out. But in actual fact, they're just trying to put off a bomb going off.
Yeah,
Because
they
you are the bomb.
It's not going
The
away.
only
Yeah.
person
Not
more
going away.
persecuted than you is the person who gave you the job. Because
Yeah.
I could see him now on Klaus Schwab's rack going, "You didn't ask about his vaccination certificate."
No, that's where they're wrong. I helped build the system. I was totally
I know, but no one
fine with it. I was fine with it. Yeah, but now, looking back now, hindsight's perfect in 2020, and yeah, and at the time I was on the COVID, the COVID tracking team. You know, the
Yeah.
contact
You
tracing.
thought they were.
thing.
You thought they
I
were
was-
okay at
I
the
was
beginning.
heavily involved. Yes, of course I
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
Yep.
That's why I was picked to build the vaccination payment system. So it's like, you know, they respected that I thought the mandates were wrong. I made no bones about that. I thought, you know, it should be up to people, that people have the choice of what to put in their bodies.
100%.
I've always believed that, but I was okay with the vaccines. I thought, yeah, you know, this could work, you know. So it was only looking at the data and forming an opinion over the years that I came to that conclusion. So I became red pilled.
Mandates.
I
My
became red
mandates.
pilled during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And if I was red pilled before that, do you think there's anywhere to employ me at the Ministry of Health to build a vaccine payment system? I don't think so.
No.
And do you know that the head of the Ministry of Health was a horrible little man, a real traitor to the truth, pretends to be a Christian, anyone less Christian, I don't know, called Ashley Bloomfield, doctor, inverted commas. Anyway, he was lauded for pushing these jabs on everyone. And I had someone write to me, I mean, it's unverified, but it was an interesting email saying, oh yeah, he was with us at a barbecue over Christmas at Rotoiti, I think it was, which is a lake near Rotorua. And he was saying, oh, well, you know, we may have had to be a little compromising with the truth just to get everybody jabbed, some line like that. So I am certain he knows, but they're laughing at us because they've just appointed him the head of a new set of tests in New Zealand they're rolling out. Absolutely dark. They're saying, oh, for your safety on the roads, we must now put some kind of scraper on your tongue to test whether you've had drugs. Test whether you've had drugs, and there's no chance to say no. Now, if that isn't blatant DNA collection, so what I'm going to do is take one of those Chinese tongue scraper things. I'm not going to have that on my tongue. You don't know what would be in it, and scrape the saliva in big globby bits onto his piece of paper that the officer can hold it there if I ever get stopped. And I hope it goes all over his hand. But we have no chance if this is enforced by this ghastly WEF government we've got now, who's just another wing of the same rotten bird like you have in Australia. Chris Luxon is just the same as Jacinda, but more, you know, smiley, sort of Humpty Dumpty face, big smiley face. But he's doing exactly what she would have done. So now they're trying to get our DNA another way. And this terrible man, Ashley Bloomfield, who thousands of New Zealanders wrote to as the head of the Ministry of Health and said, please, I have to take this to keep my job. I've got mortgages and I've got children at school. Please, I can't take this because my health won't allow it. One woman I interviewed, she had died over the first dose. She had had anaphylaxis to the point where she couldn't breathe. And they brought her back with a crash cart. And Ashley Bloomfield wrote a letter saying, don't worry, you have to take the second one, but don't worry, we'll have the crash cart near you again. Now, what kind of a monster does that as the head of the New Zealand Ministry of Health and then goes on to this current job? Ashley Bloomfield, you will have to face your God one day too, and God help you God help you. You are doing wrong to this country. You are as evil as Jacinda. And I advise you totter off over to Harvard or whatever other corrupt institution, get a job there, but leave New Zealand alone. We loathe you as well. And don't laugh at us and think, oh, I can enforce more suffering. You absolute brute, absolute sadistic brute. Yeah,
Well
it's
said.
I did the
disgusting.
same interview over here, Liz, with a midwife in Tasmania who suffered from anaphylactic, and they said the exact same thing. Well, you got to take, so go to hospital, have
So
anaesthetist there to
heartless.
bring you back.
How
It's
can they do
insane.
that?
It's insane
That is
because
that is
let
insane.
me tell you, 5 years
It's
ago,
psychopathic.
if you had a patient who nearly died from whatever it is, injection
Yeah.
X, you would never say, "Come back and get injection X,
Just make a
and
wild
we'll
Yes.
see
yeah.
we'll see if you die next time." No, you wouldn't. You would never do. It's not sane. A lot of the things from the last 5 years have been not sane. A lot of the things that we've been told have been lies. We're lied to constantly, and to me, you know, we deserve the truth. Only the truth will keep us out of a spiral of
Yeah.
insanity,
And set us free.
which is what we've been in, and rather than suppressing the starter and subjecting Barry to lawfare, they should be making the de-identified data available for any independent researcher
Yes.
to just go to town and see what the numbers look like. We're not revealing Granny's PIN code, just the data, dates, and when and the outcomes. And that's all.
Yeah.
That's all researchers are interested in.
Yeah.
And like one of the things we saw, the clusters. It's very hard to. It was very hard to explain the clusters, and you could say, yeah, we gave it. They were nursing home patients, or maybe they did a tour of the hospice, the GP on the way home, or whatever, and that's why they're all dead. But we were seeing, it really gives you concern about the consistency of what they gave, because you've got good manufacturing practices. That's a safety issue. And they really hated those videos that we did going through the data and talking about the clusters. It sort of got sucked up. And now I'm hearing people in other data sets go, "Oh, there's a few clusters here." But that was one of the things that jumped out to you, Barry. If this is a safe product, how do you
explain the clusters? And the vaccinologist, the epidemiologist, tried to explain that. Well, if you see some clusters in the data and some excess mortality, it would be balanced out by places with lesser mortality. It's like, well, that's a great assumption, but you can't really say that because you've never looked at the data. And even if you've got the excess mortality, that's a valid concern. That's a valid concern.
It's like doing a book review and you never read the book.
Yeah, no, it's without reading it. And even now, without looking at the data, there are OIAs about CALM and MedSafe, which are the vaccine adverse event reporting system in New Zealand, and they've just given me an OIA back saying that there are over 20,000 adverse events, which correlates approximately to 1 in 200 New Zealanders having a serious, that's not just like a mild cold or a bad head or something like that, having a serious life-changing adverse reaction. 1 in 200 now. That's official government data.
Is extraordinary. 1 in 200.
Where
it was once in a million. They pull it off the market.
Yeah. It's still not pulled off the shelves. Yeah.
I know they're giving it here to nursing home residents as we speak in Australia. Yes. They haven't stopped it.
And these are events which require hospitalization or life-changing events.
Yeah.
They're like a myocarditis that you'd have for the rest of your life. You would have heart issues for the rest of your life. Baz, can you explain clusters to people who aren't quite clear what you're talking about?
Yes, well, clusters, as I saw them, were just scrolling through the data by time and date of vaccination, which you can just do an order by on that. And that was a valid part of my job to check the data, the validity of the data, because it was a system that was just being stood up in an extremely short period of time. So there's a lot of issues with it. So checking the data was a really important part of the job. So seeing the data, scrolling through it, things stood out. Like the numbers of people who were dying in clusters who were all vaccinated at the same time. So you'd have like a group on the same time, the same day, same location, and usually the same vaccinator as well. So you would have the same batch, you would assume. So you'd have maybe, in one example, one single person vaccinated 99 people in one day at one site, and 36 of them died within a year. And that was off the chart, red flag, danger signal. And if you do any sort of epidemiological analysis on the group of on that cohort, the age of them and their mortality rates, you can analyze it. Every single person, you come up with an expected number of deaths based on, the baselines, and that expected number would be something like 11 or 12 people you would expect to die within a year, not 36.
99.
So the 36 is an extreme anomaly, and there are about 196 examples of that in the data.
Yeah, it's a shame that we could never. It's a shame we never published because there were all sorts of things that could be gleaned from the data, even as it was, with the the strange way that the cluster seemed to get worse the further south you got.
Yes, I know. There's a million things to look at it.
And why was that? It's just data. And data should be allowed to be independently reviewed. I think we've got a problem with independent is the key word here.
Yeah.
And the thing is that we've got a breach of trust now, like you were saying, Liz, about the lawyers and the legal system, that they've been behaving in ways that breach the trust and undermine their very institutions by going after people like Barry, by going after people like my lead Trin and Dr. Billy Bay and the rest of globally it's happening, and they're destroying their institutions. Okay, and now just by the financial system is being trashed, and people are throwing bombs at each other, because that's good fun. But the way we get back, we have to. This is the 832. We have to get back to the truth, whatever that is. No, we would be very happy. I think if we were shown to be wrong about these things, but when you're dealing with something which is not just a few lines, but like a vast data set, you need to find the expertise is not everywhere, and I think that if they were doing your case justice, they would have the appropriate experts. And they're not epidemiologists. They're probably they're going to be engineers, and the people who would do the engineering type of analysis, not the bullshit peer review, mark to model type of stuff that we're getting, fantasy,
Yes.
fabricated, generated. That's my daughter. Generated data set. We deserve real stuff. So the end of this rant is, I think we're moving towards a world just by force that will demand transparency, will demand demand fairness, and one of the key things I focus on is the principles. Going forward, we have to remember end censorship, end the lawfare. That should be an obvious start, but informed consent means telling the truth, not suppressing and hiding data. And
Absolutely.
I think that's the way the world, whether it's in the finance, whether it's in government, whether it's in the courts, I think, how do we rebuild trust that's been so badly damaged? We have to let it all hang out. And I think 2026 is actually the year that it all gets to hang out.
But can I go back to
I like
your
that.
first
Let
point,
it all hang out.
Paul? Can I just go back to your first point that in the data, that's the thing, it can be cut and spliced so many ways. And I remember in those days before we put it up publicly, and you were in New Zealand with us, and we were just gobsmacked. Back to your point, Michael, you read this stuff and you think, oh my God, that's somebody's loved one. It might be a husband or a wife or a child or a grandmother. I really resented the argument when Barry's stuff first came out. Oh, it's all old people. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's old people. Wait a minute. Weren't we told to take the jab, that we must take it to
Protect
save
the old people.
the old people? So how come you no longer care about the old people dying? Even if it
Well-
was all old people, which it isn't, that was pathetic. But when you looked at the data, you thought, often we used that phrase, didn't we? At the end of the day, Paul would come out kind of reeling to the kitchen, have a glass of much needed wine and go, what we are looking at is so many lives that have been cut short prematurely by poison, by actual planned death. That is a form of murder. That is at the very least manslaughter, but it is a murderous intention. And you're reeling and you're thinking, how will we encapsulate for the public release all of the truths in here? And we came to the group conclusion, didn't we, Barry, that, well, we know there's enough that is really standing up to scrutiny. So let's put it out to the world. And then the epidemiologists around the world will all dive in on it. Statisticians will do the same. And they will find the truths. And that's what they would have done. And I spoke to David Speaker, the American scientist, just before Christmas. He works with Kevin McKiernan and Jessica Rose on analyzing data and has put out some really important things about SV40 in the jabs. And I said to him in that interview, is it true or urban myth that Kevin McKiernan was downloading Barry Young's data when his whole system was collapsed? And he said, it's the truth. So in those first weeks when we put it out, this leading world epidemiologist was doing exactly what we'd planned, downloading it to go through it fastidiously and look at how the patterns that showed up. And they came after him in America. Well, if that isn't evidence that there was some massive panic at least in the New Zealand government to say, we've got to shut this down around the world. And we know that's what they did. And this is what this brave man, Barry Young, these are the ripples out of his one incredibly brave, heroic action. It's amazing, but it's so sad it hasn't been analyzed like that.
It is sad because the epidemiologist at my court case was able to say that I was completely wrong without even looking at the data. So you must be
I
some
read a
next
news
level
article.
brilliant mind that we, it's just like
He's
AI
psychic.
or something. It's like psychic. I know. So how can he make that
It's like,
conclusion
la,
when
la,
he
la.
hasn't,
That's
when he
what he
was
did.
told not to look at the data? It's like, wow.
You know,
That's
those
There was
three
an
monkeys,
article.
science.
Just
the
a sec,
three
Liz, there was
monkeys
an
see no
article,
evil,
Barry.
hear no evil.
When I was looking for a picture of Barry,
Yes.
I first put in Barry Young. Nothing came up on Google. I went page, nothing. I thought, come on, he must have a picture somewhere. Then I had to put New Zealand and data, and then suddenly there you are. And there's only a few pictures. And I read one article and it said, and experts have gone through the data and they says his claims are nonsense.
No one.
And I felt like saying, hey,
has.
that's our word. You're the guys that are full of nonsense. But can I
Nobody's
bring up
looked at it.
something else? This is for Liz, and Paul already knows about this, but this is for you too, Barry. This is interesting. And Robert Roach is on here. We have a thing in Australia called Rosemary. I know Rosemary does it. George Keswick does it. Robert Roach.
Forest of the Fallen.
No. These are chemist whisperers.
The
They
chemist
go into
whisperers.
chemists and they serve papers and they say, you'll be prosecuted and stuff like this. Now, Robert Roach does it. Hey, be watching, Rob. He's such a brave guy. But he met one chemist and he said, do you know the vaccines are killing people? He goes, yeah, kill my wife. And, and he's still pushing it. He goes, if they want it, they can have it. So this is a man who's killed his wife. This is what I'm talking about. There is something in our community. Stu Peters came out recently. I think I saw it on Rumble too. 56% of Americans now know the vaccine is killing and injuring people. 56%. So that's like 160 million people or more. Know now. Where's the anger? Where's the rage? It's almost like people are acting like serfs in a kingdom where they have no rights. Oh, the king's decided to do this. there's no say. They just ignore us still. There's some woman put here, and I think I'm going to put this up because it's. I know we have to be positive. Where are you, Matteo? Here it is. I think we are too far gone. We're all screwed. I'm not saying I agree with this, but we have to take in this as reality what we're doing. Most of us have been fighting, you guys included, for 5 years now and nothing. I worry we can't win against this massive world corruption and evil power. We've been fighting through and never give up, but this is beyond anything we could ever imagine. I don't concur that there's no hope, but I do think we have to keep looking at what we're doing. Is there any way because at the moment we're doing reaction. Why won't they listen to truth? Why won't they listen to truth? They won't listen to the truth because they're trying to achieve a goal, and your truth is an impediment to their goal.
Yep.
Whatever it is, maybe it's depopulation. Maybe
there's thousands of others. There's thousands of others, just like me, who can't do that. And if they do come out, then it's done. It's over.
Yes.
Yeah, and we have to
just
somehow.
Got to be brave and strong.
Think of this, Baz, and this is your Liz. Look at what the government in New Zealand is offering to the people, which is just what, tyranny. And look at what you guys are offering. The only difference between the both of you is the government has all the money. If they didn't have all the money, if they were just selling their ideology against Liz's ideology, they would vanish at the next election. They wouldn't get a vote. The only reason they get it is people got up to here with debt slaves, and they've got the money.
They've got access to the printing press.
That's right. And that's why I saw a billionaire today. Paul goes on about all this all the time. And I saw this billionaire and I thought, wow. Billionaire said, you want to escape this system? Bitcoin. There it is. Bitcoin. Start doing business amongst yourself. F off the government. Paul has been saying that now ever since I've started doing shows with him. I know I fall asleep when he does, but he does. It's only because... But the thing is,
to me, it wasn't about getting rich. It was about freedom, getting out of the system.
Right. But just to finish,
agree.
Barry, another thing I think you should do, which could help your case and help you raise money for your case, is why don't you write a book? You must have time on your sleeves. Write a book about what you're doing now, because
it's still in the process. Yeah.
But you don't have to end it. Write it in chapters, like 20,000 words. This. And with tools in it that would allow us, with a normal person to access the data. So if I read a book about data, I'd be going, But if you could write it in a way, go, no, look, see here.
Trust me.
Then you could have people going, oh my God. And that's like on
Goosebumps.
Definitely
a book in this.
I definitely think
the data, the data thing is just the tip of the iceberg. It's the government corruption that has been like most revealing to me.
That's it. That's in the book, and we publish it through our community. If you get published on Amazon or thing, we spread it throughout the community. And if we can get you to sign it, people will buy it, man. I want one signed by the great man. They will.
That's a good idea,
Baz. Edward Snowden's all his stuff that he talked about. It's like, wow. It's like, I know how real it is. After what they've done, all the stuff that they went through, after you, Liz, and me, all the cell phone towers that they can track, all the garage service stations that they can access the cameras to record your license plates and stuff like that. This is happening now. And
we
it's
have the illusion
I didn't
of privacy,
know about that.
Really.
Yeah. All your text messages, all that stuff, they can get it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
the book
I mean,
I held
that
up
is part of it.
This is Michael's book, Barry, and it is a compilation of his extraordinary Substacks that he's written. And yes, he's a beautiful writer, but you could do like a weekly Substack and keep people up to date, and then the money would come in because you've been living on the smell of an oily rag.
I'm doing weekly Substacks to the court system.
I know.
The memos.
It's really good book.
Going to be a big part of it.
Needs. I'm just going to let Liz plug my book because I might make a sound. Liz, I'll just get back to his sex.
I recommend for post-Christmas presents for anybody's birthday, get Goodbye Road by Michael Gray Griffith. There are some amazing articles. I'm loving it. Has Dazzle been sent back to us from the light? And the Dazzle story, if you don't know that, you can look on Michael's site. But that was a young one who wouldn't take the jabs, and she needed an operation, and she died because she wouldn't take the jab. They let her die, and
Yeah.
in a most cruel, extended way. And Michael was there all the way through for her. And another one I
Yeah.
found very moving, Lunig's Last Clue. Lunig, the great, heroic Australian artist. I don't call him a cartoonist, but an artist. And he was so humiliated for, he had always spoken out and been irreverent and questioned authority. But when he did it in the horrific brainwashing of Australia, they did what they did to all of us, called him names and diminished him and dismissed him and demeaned him. And then his last clue was that he died because he's free. He's a free soul anyway, and it wasn't going to be the end of Lunig. But what a way for a great man to go out in a country that had turned its back on what it really was. Anyway, it's an amazing book, Michael. I'm going to ask you if I can read some of
I
the
just spelled that wrong.
passages.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure,
it's
sure.
wonderful. Yeah,
Sure.
Goodbye Road, it's
I'm
called.
moved that you like it. Seriously.
Yeah, I love it. I love
just
it.
doesn't look good that I spelled signed wrong. But Bazzy, seriously, can I tell you why, Barry? Our countries, no, Australia has, I'm taking New Zealand has signed some declaration somewhere that they can go back through the internet and rewrite your work on Substack or anywhere, any post, without you even
What?
knowing they're doing it. That's in Australia now. That's law.
What?
They can do that. Yep. Yeah, I remember when it came in. It didn't mean anything. This is why we're saying now, books they can't do that with. And I'm sorry, mate, but you are history now. We've never had a time in our lives where there's historical people. I'm afraid all four of us are historic figures now. I don't mean that to brag, but Liz, you are definitely without a thing. Paul, off the scale. But Barry, you are, and this is it. And we need to capture it. And the best one to capture it is you. And instead of waiting till the court case finishes, just go from when you found the data to where you are now. And then the next thing could be the next book. So write it to here where you are now. And we say personal signed copies and get it signed. And then they can do it. And people will buy it, and we'll tell people, buy it so you've captured the history. Store it somewhere. Hand it to your kids. This is what really happened. This is what... Liz, you're the same. I'm telling Paul to do it. I really think Philip Altman is now, he's been inspired. He's going to put his Substacks into the thing. This is important stuff. And it's our literature of our movement. So it helps us give our culture and identity. There's lots of benefits from it, you know. And we have this thing here. I'll just show you. I'll just screen share because this is what we're doing here now.
I mean, just while you're doing that, Michael, Barry, I could send you all the messages. Barry sends me messages most weeks with shocking details of the way there's corruption in our courts. It's incredible what he's gone through.
The Bamboo Company. Here's Paul Conlon. There's my book.
Oh, wow.
Here's John Stapleton, a major reporter in Australia. Doesn't work for them anymore. And we're looking for more. And people are buying them.
Gosh.
People get it. People go in and they buy 4 books at a time was the latest one we had in. They want 4 books. And I think they want it because they get to have a bit of revolution they're helping. They're helping the cause. And they know that AI and the government can't corrupt this book once it's in their hands.
Is it available on Amazon?
But we need your story. We need your story, Baz. It needs to be done. And I think around the world.
I do see the point of having printed material as well, because I've got like an encyclopedia. It was gifted to me. Remember my birthday, Liz, when you brought it, the World War II books. My God, there was a crowd of them, But those things are so valuable because they cannot be changed. It's a record of history. And
that's right.
Yeah, they are hugely valuable. And printed
that was your lovely Kath who gave it to you, but I just picked them up. She's got to take the credit. Yeah, they were amazing.
Yeah, heavy.
It's so 1984 that they can actually go back and change digital history.
Yeah, memory holding.
It's very
yeah, that is absolutely
that's the danger that every week, every month that this goes on unaddressed. Increases the risk that it will be wiped out. Okay, but the reason I'm not worried about that is because they can't ignore the deaths forever. They won't be able to ignore the deaths, and they've run out of coincidences. I mean, they ran out of coincidences about 160 coincidences ago, you know.
Can I
And so
tell you something else, Paul? Yeah, okay, you finish. I'm just going to challenge you, which I don't generally do, but keep going.
So, give me the challenge. I want the challenge.
Okay, in 1984, one thing they did throughout the whole book, and you didn't notice it was just a part of the background, is that they would have someone like Barry. You'd be up there and you'd be doing a confession. Yeah, you know, I went on Cafe Locked-Out and they corrupted us to do the data, and then I made up all this data, 2 million. I just made it up to try and make the state look bad. And people don't even think about it. They look at it, that people parsing know it's a lie, but they look at it as though it is the truth because they don't want the government to do the same to them. So they just go through going, yeah, that's the truth. Every morning I wake up on my Instagram page or Twitter or something, there'll be somebody's daughter just died, mysteriously, 34.
Yes.
Teacher from New Zealand just died, 24. We don't know what happened. To me, they are the same things. It is the same confession smashed in our face. The whole world knows what happened. You read the comments, jab, 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 and yet they stick it in our faces. I see it as a form of intimidation, like they're going, we're lying, we're killing you. What are you going to do? Yeah, you going to do something about it? Oh, look, another death. Oh, I wonder what happened. We don't know. What are you going to do? They're mocking us with it. And this is where I'm seeing that we're already in 1984. Canberra has fallen. There's a thing in Canberra called the golden handshakes, which means, say you work in Canberra, the remuneration is so great that basically you want to keep this job, keep your everything else. You got to lie. Yeah, the golden handcuffs. You got to lie. And if you lie and stay silent and just do the thing, you'll keep your job. But if you get out there and go, climate change is real and man can definitely give birth. Haven't you seen Australia's got so many shits around? It must be from them. You know, there's just all this, it's just coming through, but you have to lie to stay there. You can't tell the truth apart from the few ministers on our side. It's already fallen. That's why they can't mention Islam when they shot up the beach. It's got nothing to do with Islam. They're not ISIS flags. They're just, I don't know. You know, this is how they are now. We live in a world of lies. And that's why I'm saying we're branding ourselves.
On your side.
Yeah,
We've
only
got
a few,
nobody
and
here.
they get voted
We've
out.
got nobody.
Like Rennick. Rennick was on our side, brilliant, gets voted out. And most Australians don't even know who he is. We know who he is because we adore him. So I don't mean to rant on, but what I'm saying, I think it's time to, we have to find a way through unity to come together. And I think this is, I'll send you the piece through, Liz, that I'm working on, a discussion piece. It's only a discussion piece, but it's about calling ourselves common sense guardians, common sense protectors, common sense veterans.
Michael,
common sense is a core freedom.
Michael, can I give my spin on this? I agree. We have to unite. We were in the West united by Judeo-Christian values. You know, the 10 Commandments: thou shalt not kill. You know, you shouldn't lie. We had a set of rules that we agreed on. If we could just get back to a short list, get back to the short list. You know, even in the Muslim faith, they have much the same 10 things. They're a little bit flexible about, they don't do Sabbath, and I'm still trying to learn, but I think all of humanity and even a sentient AI would have to agree on some basic sets of rules. And one of them is truth, telling the truth, and not killing you. You know, I think the freedom movement can unite under a banner of principles, and we can disagree about all sorts of other things, but we've just lost our way so badly, and partly it's because we no longer have ethics and faith and in our culture, and however we rebuild that, whatever we do going forward, I believe it's going to be decentralized. It's going to be transparent, and it's going to. I think we're at the point of a revolution, but it doesn't have to be a revolution with pitchforks. It can be a revolution of turning away from their systems and turning towards principles. principles that we've had through all of humanity, through all our cultures. And I suspect we would even end up, if we had sentient AI, even those that would go, yeah, that makes sense. We'll abide by that because we're sentient AI, and that just makes sense. And we've got a bit mad, you know. The 1984, we're in the, going in the 6th year of 1984 now. And it's been a long haul, and it's been mad from the beginning, and it's still mad. And for those of us who actually believe our eyes, yeah, we do. We put God, we put scientists and government in the place of God, you know. And it's not all the left, right, and all that stuff. It's, do you trust? Do you treat the individual as sacred? See, I know we all see each one of these deaths, and I've seen so many of them over the last 4 years, 5 years. Each one of them is an individual, a divine, you know, made from God's image, if you know, in the Bible sense. And so it means there's something sacred about each one of those people that is dying. And there are others who have this, the Borg chip, and they go, for the greater good, collectivist, the government is always right, the organization is right. And that's the tension. Individual, we respect, and that individual right is not just, oh, it's nice to be able to speak freely. It's nice not to be censored. It's nice not to be subjected to imprisonment and lawfare and murder. It's fundamental for our survival going forward. And I think the madness can only resolve in that direction of trust, openness, transparency, and that's the only way they can rebuild trust. They've so thoroughly fucked it up in nearly every Western domain, whether it's courts, science, medicine, government. That's my vision.
I think it's funny you say it though, Paul, because I was thinking this morning it really comes down to that commandment: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Just meaning treat other people the way you want to be treated. So for every doctor who went ahead and jabbed when they themselves were taking saline in the hospitals, which I heard about, for every pharmacist who kept doing it when they knew people were collapsing daily, and took sometimes $1.5 million in a year and possibly more. There was massive payout of money during those COVID pandemic times. And that is just basic naked corruption. And it's corruption right to the soul level. That money can buy you boats and cars, but ultimately they don't bring you long-term happiness. Being decent does. And just put yourself in the position, would I like to have been treated the way I treated those people who walked into my pharmacy and I didn't care, and I jabbed them with poison, and I knew every day there were a large number who collapsed and I didn't care about them? Would I like to have been one of those people? So that's what that commandment is. Treat other people the way you want to be treated. I mean, that's what's behind what you've done, Barry, isn't it? It really is. It's like, I can't sit quietly when I know that if I was one member of the public, I would want someone like me to speak out. And so you did.
Well, I just thought with a moral compass, I was just doing the right thing. And I thought anyone could do the same thing. Anyone would do the same thing. It was just like, okay, there are concerns here that I'm seeing things that I shouldn't be seeing. So what can I do about it? And I did the only thing I thought I could do, and that was to get it validated and to come to you guys. And to your point, Paul, about the scientists and politicians, we don't treat them as God. They've elevated themselves to gods. And you can see that in Ardern. She put herself at that level and told us. And you've got people like Schwab saying, calling themselves the elites. Who gave them that title? How come? So yeah, they see themselves as elites, and they shouldn't. You know, they're just human beings, and we shouldn't take notice of that because they're not. They're just human beings like the rest of us, and that's a fundamental thing. They are human.
Yeah. I remember, this will help you in court next time. I remember I was a really nervous young lawyer and I was going to my first defended case, and I went into the partner I was working for, who had quite a good sense of humor. And I said, "Oh, I'm really nervous about this judge. He's dead now, Mr. Justice Barker." And he was very hard on the young new lawyers because he wanted us all to, reach a high standard. So he really gave us a hard time. And this judge, this partner in my law firm said, "Look, Liz, what I did when I was a young lawyer was I just imagined they all are just humans, and they all just sit on the toilet like I do early in the morning. And so when I go into court, I picture that." And I went into court and I was really relaxed because I went, you're just a human who's wearing a wig and has a gown and is up high on a bench, but you're still just a human being, and we are all the same, and we will all come here for a short journey and die. And so I've got nothing to fear. That's the thing. And I think that's the most extraordinary thing, Michael, about Barry. He went through this hell of imprisonment, for God's sake, when he'd done no crime for 2 nights, of his door all smashed up. That was just pure intimidation by the cops and by the government. And that's by this government, by this current government. And he's just become more and more and more calm and more free the more they try to persecute him. That is one of the most extraordinary aspects of Barry. The longer they spread this out, the more he becomes the very thing they most fear, which is somebody who does not fear them. That's what they fear.
Yeah.
That's the enigma
The
of
only thing that
Barry.
fear is fear itself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've got no worries about that. I just see their corruption.
And
And
each time
I
he
as many
speaks,
people as
more
possible
people
should
wake up.
see their corruption. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's unfolding in real time. Like that court
Yeah.
case, that voir dire. We were witnessing the destruction of an act of Parliament in real time. It's like Whistleblowers Act, out the door. Bill of Rights, out the door. So it's good to record this. And it should be written down in a book.
I
I
hate
mean,
to say,
2
even
days.
do you know, Barry? Even like if everyone thinks a book, they think a big novel. Because John Stapleton, he approached me about putting my stuff together. He said, "There's a book, man. It's his story. You got to put it in a book." So he edited it, got it all together, and I'm so glad he did, because now there's something solid for what I've done. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying I've done anything. I'm not doing anything like you, but it's just I'm just a part of the
Oh, more
discussion.
than.
No, wait on, wait
Every
on.
day
No,
you're
but-
on it.
no, but what Baz has done, Baz has come up with this. It should have been the silver bullet, which really raises the question: how come the silver bullet hasn't been effective? And this comes to the core of the problem. Why do the people not care about the truth? Why are they staying silent when so many of their loved ones are dying around them? Everyone I meet now goes, "I'm sick of going to funerals." And you feel like saying, well, why do you think you're going to funerals? Do you think it's something we could talk about as a community? I mean, that's the real mystery. It's always been the mystery, but now it's the greater mystery. And you've got the evidence that it's the jab. There's
I think
a great thing.
the silver bullet is not safe and it's not effective. And I think around the world, we need a magazine of silver bullets, and that goes to the data coming out of Japan, which reflects the New Zealand data and reflects the Czech data. So all that data, when it's all stacked up, it gets harder and harder to ignore. And so one day, and it's not going to be one thing that does it. It's going to be maybe like a domino will cause the whole thing, or an avalanche. The whole thing will come crashing down. But it's just getting to that point, that tipping point.
That's correct.
Critical.
We fought that, Michael. At the time, I remember it was like, this is going to end it. Finally, this will end the madness. This is record level data. You can't explain. Go on, try and explain it, but there is a signal here that the people are being killed, and we're still waiting. And I understand it's frustrating. I'm impatient too, but where I get solace is when I was first brought in front of the courts in September 2021. A lot of the things I was saying was like gobbledygook. It was like I was speaking in a different language. You know, they said, how can you have this opinion? And all these experts have a different opinion. I went, yeah, it's quite curious, I think is the word I used. It is quite curious, because I had to assume that I was fucking mad, because everyone else was telling me.
You wanted to be wrong. That was the difference. You wanted to be wrong.
And I did want to be wrong. And what's turning people into anti-vaxxers is what you were saying, Michael. They're just seeing people around them drop. And it breaks my heart, which is why there's no joy here. We still sit in amazement that 2 years later, and with all the data, that they're still giving this shot, and it will end. And the only question in my mind is how many people have to die. But compared to where I was then in September 2021 to now, it's like it's common knowledge. It's like you said about the Rasmussen poll. Half of people think that the COVID jab killed a large number of people. So it's not like it's a secret. Everyone. So if I was alone as a sniper fighting this vast army of demons, like now we've got huge reinforcements. We're engaging. We've got RFK and some Robert Malone and some sane people at the FDA who are trying to work their way through it. I hope it's soon.
At a glacial pace. I mean, at a glacial pace. Honestly, it's hard. Although I would say this: I've been in touch, Baz, with someone in the Netherlands who's just met with Walter Akuma. I would recommend following him on X, WOUTER AUKIMA, and he is an academic who is about to put out a massive trans-Europe database on excess deaths and on, I think, on injuries as well. But he's posting about it on his X account. And so it's just going to further underline what Barry's already saying. What you said earlier, Paul, we never quite developed that, but when you were talking about how there seem to be different concentrations in different pharmacies in different areas, it looks as if the really concentrated in New Zealand, concentrated cities got more, shall we say, watered down? Shall we say saline? We don't know, but it looks as if there were far less lethal doses in the highly concentrated areas, certainly in the early rounds of the jabs, and in the more sparse communities down in the South Island where they're more spread out and there are fewer people. That would be interesting to look at Barry's data and go, hey, look, it indicates that there were different concentrations put around New Zealand as if they were using us like a lab rat population. This little box of lab rats in this area will have a really bad dose and we'll see what happens. Oh, this will be fun. Were we all just a live experiment to them? And again, that brings it back to Ashley Bloomfield and the coldness with which she dealt with. I wanted to just follow up on that mother before I finish. That mother needed to take the second jab because I know there'll be people out there saying she just shouldn't have taken it, not for a job, but because she had 3 handicapped children and she was the only one able to look after them, and she stayed at home with them, never really mixed with other people. And the government said, in order to get the government funding for those handicapped children, you must take 2 jabs. So that is the cruelty on the cruelty on the cruelty that we're dealing with. We are literally dealing with psychopaths who've been in charge here. Psychopaths.
Michael's always pulled out that when we had the lockdowns and then the vaccine came and they said the vaccinated can go out, and we had the hate towards the anti, and we had medical discrimination, we had medical martial law, and we've lived through an extraordinary thing. And remember, we sometimes yell out Nuremberg. There's been times where I've been reading stuff and I'm just going Nuremberg, Nuremberg, Nuremberg. It's a form of Tourette's I've developed, acquired Tourette's, and I just keep going Nuremberg, Nuremberg, Nuremberg. But remember, part of the premise here was that they said this is stuff that you didn't need a law these were crimes against humanity. You as a human being knew that what you were doing was, or must have known that what you were doing was beyond the pale. And we've just lived through 5 years where that regime has to end. And I have no doubt that just as they later repudiated discrimination, in the US, the civil rights movement, and everyone sees that and goes, oh, yeah. They will, not too distant future, see all the stuff that happened just a few short years ago as exactly the same thing, and even the most muddled vaxophile, including Dr. Dan, I think understands that there were things that were done that you don't need a double-blind trial to understand this was wrong, to deceive people, to lie to people, to harm people. It's that simple. And I think good things are coming. I think we've progressed a huge way, even though, we're still talking within our little congregations of sheltered Christians surrounded by the Romans. Even though that's still the case, Christianity did take off, despite the suppression, and because the core message is truth and love. So this will take off too. I'm impatient, like the rest of you, but I suspect when I benchmark myself back to September 2021 to now, the world is completely different, and it's moving so fast. Who knows what will happen this year?
Yes. Do you think you could apply in the case to have the data put out while the court case drags on for another, I don't know, decade? Just say to them, look, Your Honor, if you are honorable, you always need to add that now, Your Honor, if you are honorable, it's really important for the public to know what is in the data, and there are no names compromised. Therefore, there is no breach of privacy. So, Your Honor, while we drag out the rest of the case, whether I'm a whistleblower or not, could we just pop the data out in public so that people can look at it? Would that be okay?
Isn't it a red flag that they're not doing that?
Isn't it?
And people shouldn't people be asking questions about that? If the data doesn't show anything and it's safe and effective, why aren't the government shouting that from the rooftops?
They've
already called it nonsense.
It's a clearly logical thing without even looking at it.
Yeah, they've already called it nonsense in the media. So show us the nonsense. Show us how we can move forward. What are you thinking, Barry?
And then everyone can laugh at Barry and me, and that'll be, we're fine with that, Baz, aren't we?
Fine.
Where you can laugh at us once you all have a look at it, and you all say it's all nonsense. We're all good. But if you have a look at it, and
they're claiming they can't redact the data because it's going to be too complicated, too hard to do, and this is provably wrong because during the court, that they're still having issues with it. But in the court, the Crown or the police disclosed to me documents, spreadsheets, as part of their evidence, by the way, which they shouldn't have, which contained names. And so they went back, they had to apologize very carefully, and they had to tell the Privacy Commission and Health New Zealand what they'd done. Oops, how bad. But then they can go back and give me the spreadsheets now with the names removed. So it's so easy for them to do that. So if they can do that, why can't they do that for the whole data set? They can do it for me. Not hard, not a hard thing to do. So therefore, it's within their abilities to do it. It's not a difficult thing, and yet they are still refusing to do even that.
But we're not dealing with fairness.
That answers more questions. I can ask them to, we should release the data and all that sort of stuff. But it's like, hang on a minute, why shouldn't you be doing that anyway? What possible reason have you got to hide this data? That should, people should be questioning that.
Yeah, I think people are. To me, it's an admission of guilt until proven otherwise. Every day that they don't do this, they're effectively admitting guilt to the public. And this is a pressure that's and this sort of caught between Scylla and Charybdis. You know, the two, because if they give the data, they're fucked. If they don't give the data, they're fucked.
They're painted into a corner. They absolutely are. And
that's like Albo with Bondi. The whole country wants a Royal Commission. Everybody. They've got film stars and sports stars coming out now, because for some reason the sports star is much more important than us. There's like a sports star speaks, we have to listen. But they all want a Royal Commission, and he's refusing.
Yeah.
And he knows he's refusing because he's screwed if he doesn't, and he's screwed if he does.
Yes.
I mean, I can't believe after Trump took Venezuela that Albo didn't come out and go, that's those right wingers again. You see, you know, it's just, this is how he is. And it's clear they seem to be working. There's a thing out at the moment. Have you seen it? They have Keir Starmer going, Islamophobia is really bad. And then suddenly Albo's going, you know, what's the other one? Anti-Semitism is really bad. And then a Canadian guy going, Muslim extremism, anti-Islamophobia. And it's like they're doing it all at the same time, just so they can bring in the hate speech laws everywhere.
And Luxembourg is the same in New Zealand. We've got the same here as well. It's amazing how they all do move in lockstep. Yep. Totally.
Yeah. And for people who aren't aware,
like ours, would have a shrine on every corner to those who fought and died for our freedom. They mean nothing. Yeah. Nothing.
Yep. And that's to the point, like, you know, they say 100 years old and that about the vaccinated people who die. These people have all got books in them. The 100-year-old, the 90-year-olds, they lived through the Second World War. A lot of them. Yeah. So because some of them could have even been fighting in the Second World War. Those stories would be amazing to hear. Those beautiful. We should treasure those people, and we should listen to them. And we shouldn't just dismiss them and say, "Oh, no, it was an old age care home, and they all died within a year. So what? They were old." No, that's not the way to look at it. These people are treasured. I used to say that in the Melbourne marches. I used to walk past the cafes and going, you know, all our forefathers fought and died for our freedom, and you gave it away because they wouldn't let you have a latte. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
That's the truth.
But Barry,
you're not going to have a cafe, have a latte. Here, take all my freedom, take everything. Just give me the fucking coffee, man. You know.
Oh, in New Zealand, the one was, but I need to be able to travel. And then there was no travel for years.
They shut the world down.
I'll put anything in my body as long as I can keep traveling.
That's crazy.
And then she said there'll be no travel. But Baz, just refine that down. It's really important with the deaths of the old people for people to understand within your data, and it goes back to the clusters, there are all these odd amounts of old people dying from the same area, and it doesn't add up. That is not what you would have in a normal graph of deaths in, say, one particular residential care home. It was an unusually high number of deaths, and you put that together with, which Andrew Bridgen is, with the midazolam and the other things that they were doing to these poor old people, including locking them away. I mean, in that opening song, Michael, that grandchild spooning her grandmother to give her comfort, sneaking in at night, because how many of our old people died alone and scared and isolated and utterly unloved because of this utter con, which has been nothing short of, I mean, it's the emperor's new clothes is too mild, but it is that. It's like everybody became too scared to say, hey, this is nonsense. And when I did put out what I called a love letter to New Zealanders, where I went, hey, Jacinda, you're my servant. I'm not yours. You don't get to tell me what goes in my body. And by the way, my father fought in World War II for me to have that bodily autonomy and that right to say what I will or will not put in my body. And by the way, if you force something in someone's body, it's called rape. And you won't do that. You won't rape me with a needle or any of the men in our country if the men stand up. And then I used a metaphor to say there was an earthquake, probably God knows what caused it. But anyway, during one of her press conferences, there was an earthquake. And I used a metaphor to say it's like the whole country is quaking. So what they did was put the bots on me and all of the government propaganda stuff. Oh, Liz Gunn is completely insane because she said that Jacinda caused an earthquake. And I couldn't go out there in public and go, it was a bloody metaphor, you illiterate sods who are robots. But it was all done to all of us. Anytime any of us told the truth, they had their armies of liars and bullies and robots to come after us one by one and try to demoralize us into silence. And we've all learned it doesn't matter what you throw at me anymore. I will still stand up one more time than you try to knock me down. And I will tell the truth that I know to be the truth. And I'll do it fearlessly. And you don't scare me anymore. And I don't care, because Dad had a great saying. I loved it. Never explain. Your friends don't need it. And your enemies won't believe you anyway. It's very liberating.
That is so true. We had RMIT University over here funding the trolls to attack us. A university
you're
was
over the
funding
target.
the trolls, to attack free speech. A
Disgusting.
university. That's how far we've fallen. I might wrap this up, Barry. I'm going to let you have the last word. Liz, I'm in awe of Liz. And the fact that she likes my book, I'm even more in awe of her. But I really am in awe of Liz.
Goodbye Road. Goodbye Road. Order it.
And Goodbye Road is what we're the orphans of Goodbye Road. And what it meant was we were kicked out of society. That's Goodbye Road. And then we're the orphans on it. We're supposed to wither and die, but we've found each other and we're creating a new culture. It's slowly happening. Literature, art, these communications, this is a part of it. If you don't like the way the country's going, there's another country, there's another group out here forming around the world who talk like this, who get together, hardly see each other and can't shut up, and they talk about life and humanity and everything. But what you did, Barry, to me, is beautifully human. If they did a movie of New Zealand and men were watching it in 50 years, most of the men would say, I want to be Barry. They would not say, I want to be the person who broke into Barry's door, a fully jabbed cop. They won't say, I want to be the vaccinator who vaccinated 90 people and killed 30 of them. I want to be Barry. And that's why the books are important to write now, because people will want to read about it then. And it'll give you something to do, because, apart from waiting around for the cops to come knocking trick-or-treating again, I mean, what else is that?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Seriously,
well, I'm
brother.
Buy Michael's book. I can't wait to read it. I'm going to get it as well. Send me a link.
I think the title for Barry's book is "I Want to Be Barry." That's a cool title. You can quote Michael Gray Griffith.
I've already thought about the title, and it's a good one. I'm not going to say it now, but but it's
someone
good.
in the comments admitted Barry Big Balls Young.
You might know it. It's what the police have called this investigation. It's how the cops have all these things when they go on missions and stuff, Operation this and Operation that. Well, that's the title of my book is going to be called This Operation, if I ever get to write it. And that's it. I might do it for my own person. I mean, I take it. Yeah, it's a great thing to do. And
once you get going, mate, it'll
the amount of stuff I've
out
written. Honestly, I could fill an encyclopedia on what I've done so far.
There you go. We're almost there.
I just need to add the human bits, like all this stuff with you guys and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, life is a journey.
Hey Simon, I'm getting you on Wednesday night. Hopefully, I'll give you a call in a sec. Honestly, Baz.
Yep.
I think it would not sell like it could be a bestseller. You've got Steve Kirsch, you get Kirsch behind it. He push it out there. It's the way to us to fight back. If people suddenly get it in their hands and they can read it, it could be huge, and they'd hate it. They'd hate it.
And you need it. You need it for the screenplay. We need it for the screenplay.
Right.
I mean, because your Sean Connery accent. I mean, it's going to be classic. I look forward to being an advisor.
You can't understand me anyway.
I look forward to being. I look forward to being an advisor. An advisor to the film.
Yeah.
Can I finish with a tiny little anecdote, Michael? I think this is really lovely. About a year after we put it out, I go to Barry's place and his son is there, and we're talking quietly in the kitchen. And I just said, "How do you feel about your dad doing all this?" And he goes, "I am so proud of him." And I just want that to really resonate with You know, if you're a doctor who knows that you could whistleblow on everything you've seen from the
Yeah.
last 5 years, if you're a nurse, if you are a pharmacist that we've talked about tonight, and you've had enough of taking big lumps of money for seeing people hurt and maimed, come and we will welcome you with open arms as a hero, because whatever mistakes you made, they can be cleared by telling the truth now and joining Barry.
Yeah.
And that's the call. If we had hundreds and thousands of Barrys in New Zealand and around the world, this would be over,
Yeah.
and the politicians would never dare do this to us again. So that's my call. And
That's
Barry,
right.
you know, you are the clarion call for that.
That's right. Basically, you still have a soul. You haven't sold it. It's still there.
No, I'm still
and
intact.
it's built for redemption.
Yeah.
It's built for
I'm still-
redemption. That's
I'm
to all
still
New
sticking
Zealanders,
it.
not to you, Baz.
I'm not
before
I'm not an
this.
angel. I'm
No,
definitely
not an angel,
not
but
an
we have
angel.
soul, and you make a decision.
yeah,
How
I
am I
am a
going to go
human
into
being.
the end world? You know?
I am a human being, and at the end
Yeah.
of the day, no matter what they do to me, or what they think they do to me, take away money, job, career, house, whatever, they can't take away what's in here.
That's right.
That's my heart. So
That's
just
right.
remember
That's
that.
what they can never touch.
And this is
Mhm.
what gives me my strength. You know, there's so many
Yeah.
beautiful people out there, and I am so grateful for that. I meet people every day. They come up to me and, you know, have good conversations, and my life has changed so much, and it's better than it's ever been, and I'm so grateful for that. And thank you guys for making that happen.
Well, we're grateful for your courage. Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Yeah, honest to God, for your courage. And then to the vaccinators out there, you too, you should come forward. How are you going to take
Yeah.
that to the grave? You know who you are. And
Yeah.
the best way to
8:32.
get past is to come out. 8:32, set yourself free.
100%.
You know what I mean? Because you didn't do it.
Yeah.
You didn't know it was bad. You're just doing what you thought was told. You probably believed it's safe and effective now. Now's the time to come out and go, I gave it. Don't live with that guilt to destroy you. You know, this is it. Anyway, it's been a great show, guys. I'm going out with the song I started
Thank
with.
you.
And I'll send it to you,
See you,
Liz.
Barry.
It's a joy to be with
Cheers.
all four of you. And
Good to see you again.
let's stay in touch. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Liz
You're
likes
looking
my
well.
book. Liz
You're
likes
looking
my
well.
book, everybody.
Yeah.
No worries. Take care. This is
Awesome.
welcome to
Okay.
the weeping years.
Thank you.
And go from there. See ya. Good night, everyone.
Love
Good
to
night.
My father did everything they told him to, lined up and took every single jab. And every time I beg him, Dad, please just think, he'd just laugh and call me crazy. We spread his ashes at his favorite park. I have to say I thought I was out of tears, until his sister whispered into my ear, my love, my poor love, welcome to our weeping years. Tanya was a nurse working in the bush. She didn't want to take it herself, but because she loved the people out there, she decided to take a chance. Now she's going through a metamorphosis, because Pfizer gave her multiple sclerosis. Now she lives with her mother in the city, like a ghost watching us all forget her. And while she is still too angry for tears, all I could hear in her burning eyes was a broken heart warning me, my love, my poor love, welcome to our weeping years. Welcome to our weeping years. And no one is allowed to talk about it. Take all your pain and keep it to yourself. If vaccines are safe and effective, then you must be the thing that's wrong. You're not worthy of state recognition. You're not worthy of any compensation. Not even worthy of a human singing your song. She was 92 and dying in a nursing home, and because her family said no to the jabs, none of them were allowed to see her, so it was clear she would die alone. dark, she would break into the home and sneak down the corridors like a thief. Then while the carers were all watching TV, she would climb in bed and spoon her grandmother. She would get into her grandmother's bed and spoon. And even now I can see them there, huddled together like babes lost in the woods. As we and our endless madness hurricane around them, as our madness hurricanes. Oh, can't you hear our gods whispering? If you guys don't find a way to conquer fear, then you're just gonna keep traveling down deeper into the weeping years. Deeper and deeper and deeper into the weeping years. Into the weeping years. And no one is allowed to talk about it. Take all your pain and keep it to yourself. Look around at all these tumultuous years, for lying has replaced the truth. And the one lie that they need you to sell is that the system cares for you. And the one lie that they need you to sell to your children